Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show. And if you're joining for the first time, this is part of our industry series, for which we meet every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. We review one vendor or the solution. And for today, we have another solution from the HCM series that we have been doing for this year. It's called BambooHR. Super popular solution, especially in the SMB space. So we are going to have a lot of fun discussing that. Before we do that, we are going to start with everybody's intros. I am going to start with my intro. Sam Gupta, principal at Elevate IQ. Elevate IQ is the independent ERP and digital transformation consulting firm. On that note, Dave, do you want to go next?
Sure, happy to. Thanks, Sam. Hey, everybody. My name is Dave Chrysler, and I own an operations consulting business working with leaders who are interested in optimizing their operations, and come to you with more than 25 years of various operational leadership roles and responsibilities, and a few system implementations along the way. So excited to be here with you guys today.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Dave. Andy, do you want to go next?
Well, I do, but first off, Dave, what kind of car do you drive?
I have
Not a Chrysler.
I don't have a Chrysler.
Do you?
It threw me for a loop. I knew where it was going, but it's Stellantis anyway.
Yeah,
so
you have to always think that, a joke is coming, Dave. Okay, whenever Andy is asking any question, there has to be a joke. It has to be Chrysler.
Anyhow, well, what a great way to start the day off. My name's Andy Pratico. Thanks so much, Sam. I always appreciate you inviting me to these sessions. You know how shy I am. I've been involved in ERP software all my life. I worked all over North America. And I teach people how to uncover the truth about ERP systems before they buy, hoping that my little effort will help the worldwide terrible percentage of dissatisfaction. I'm just hoping to make things a little better for some people. So thank you so much, Sam.
Yeah, and we totally believe you, Andy, how shy you are. We know it. You did tell me the meaning of your last name, that it was shy. I remember that.
There we go. Over to you, Sam.
Awesome, guys. So we'll start the briefing if you guys are comfortable, and if you are in the audience and joining for the first time, make sure you guys post your questions and comments. I'm especially interested in your stories. If you relate with any of the anecdotes that we are going to make during the session, we are looking for any sort of case studies, relatable comments that you might have. So we'll be touching on all of those. So once again, thank you so much for joining. If you want to start mentioning your location, if you're watching right now, we would love to know where you are joining from. On that note, Andy and Dave, I'm going to start with the quick briefing, of this particular solution. So let's go to the first slide, and there's going to be a little commentary related to their overarching positioning. So as I mentioned, and Andy, I don't know, I think you were there in the last session. Dave, you joined a couple of HCM ones. I don't know how many you joined. So one of the things that we understood last week, when Andy asked the question, okay, how do you segment, or how the segmentation works in the HCM space, especially when it comes to the SMB market and the enterprise market. In ERP space, it's going to be slightly different. HCM is a slightly different market. So Jay, for your visibility, the buckets that we are going to have here are going to be under 50, which is sort of small, and then 50 to 1,000 employees. They don't necessarily go by the revenue. In the ERP space, revenue is a lot more common because the variables are different, the factors, the drivers are different. Here, they go by number of employees, again, because this is a HCM solution, right? So under 50 is going to be these. super small category. 50 to 1,000 is going to be a slightly more mid-market category, and then you are going to have 1,000 plus, which is slightly more enterprise solutions. So overall, Bamboo is a very small solution. So I'm going to touch on the differences between small and mid-size and enterprise, the kind of layers, what kind of things that you are going to find in each of those categories. Again, this is not about a specific solution, but when you look at any solutions from any specific market category, they are going to be built with a very specific mindset, very specific design perspective. So, under 50 in general, the reporting is going to be very limited. The model is going to be slightly more prescriptive. And the reason why it is prescriptive is because they are trying to simplify the implementation. In general, in this space, when you are looking at companies, I mean, they barely have like a $10,000 for the implementation. Now, what can you afford in that, I guess? So that means your training budget is going to be fairly minimal as well. So if you are going to get any sort of complex systems, and they are designed for a very specific purpose, they are designed for scalability. So in this particular case, it is not going to be as scalable. It is going to be the cooked meal, prescriptive meal. This is the medicine you should take because you don't know which medicine to take just yet. And I'm going to give you a medicine, and that's how this works.
If you don't like it, lump it.
Exactly. You will find out probably in 3 to 5 years.
Or 3 to 5 hours, maybe.
Well,
if you take the wrong drugs, 3 to 5 hours.
Too short time, I would say. Okay, 3 to 5 years. So everybody's going to have their own journey, and that's why these solutions are there to identify their own journey in terms of what is going to work for them, what is going to be the limitation. So again, it's a very specific perspective. Again, the customizability, the scalability, the reporting, the data model is going to be very lean. Data model is going to be slightly more disconnected. It's going to be slightly more for the collaborative things as opposed to the real deep financial operational things, because that's where your slightly larger companies are going to care for. In general, the smaller companies, they are not as worried about the core operational financial issues. They are not as deep into the accounting or embeddedness of the financial processes. So these are some of the variables, how you segment these solutions. So that's where you are going to see a lot more of these layers with BambooHR. And now if you are going to compare this with other solutions, for example, let's say if you look at Oracle ACM, SAP SuccessFactors, those would be for the enterprise category. In fact, Info WFM is probably going to be for enterprise category. Then you have Workday, again, enterprise category. Ceridian started as more of the mid-market solution, but as of today, they have grown a lot. They have grown a lot from the global footprint perspective. Their solution is far stronger. Again, I don't think they are going to have as many layers as Workday. That's why Workday is not going to be appreciated as much, especially in the mid-market. In enterprise, they'll appreciate because they have different problems, different needs. So again, each market has very, 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 very specific need. So this is going to be for the startup segment. They are going to love this. You are going to see a lot more logos. They are going to be successful with this. But if you look at reviews from the mid-market or the enterprise companies, the same solution, they are going to absolutely hate it. Okay. Any comments, feedback so far, or shall I keep going?
No, I mean, you're right. Ceridian and ADP has always been a little bigger company, but Ceridian has been around for a long, long time, and they've grown tons. They've done an exceptionally great job.
Yeah, I agree. Dave, any comments or?
No, I think you pretty much laid it out. I mean, it's a great starting point when you've not got a lot of familiarity or a lot of budget, and to your point, you're going to learn a lot of things along the way to see how this fits into as your business grows, and this may serve you well for years to come, and you may outgrow it in 18 months.
Exactly. Again, depending upon the company's situation where you are in your journey, so you need to make that assessment. So great points.
It's the $100 million year company running on QuickBooks.
Exactly, and that's also $100 million question to find out what is going to work for you, right, Dave?
It happens.
I know, brother. We all know this. Okay, so moving right along, and so some comments that are going to be very consistent with what I just spoke. So obviously, this is going to be a very entry-level HCM solution. The right comparable here are probably going to be Zoho HCM but Zoho has a lot more logos in the mid-market. I would not say enterprise, but definitely mid-market. But I mean, they are going to be slightly richer, I would say, in their functionality as well as customizability than what you are going to get from Bamboo. Bamboo, most companies would feel that they have slightly richer user experiences because the way UI is designed, the way their process and data model is designed. So overall, I guess the way they started before Bamboo, if you look at the HR solutions, they were very tricky to work with. That's all I can tell you right now. Especially if you're looking for that mobile, application. With HCM, you require that. And the reason for that is because you are opening it up for your employees. They are applying for leaves. They are looking at their paycheck. So the mobile experience matters a lot more than the other categories. So this is going to be a very similar category as your CRM, in which your mobile experience matters a lot. Field service is the same. So that's why these, from the technology footprints perspective, if you compare HCM, CRM, field service, they all are very similar in the interaction. And that's why you will see a lot more innovation happening with these solutions. And that's where the majority of the SaaS is present.
Sam, I actually, it's coincidence. About 2 weeks ago, a client of mine asked me how easily the Infor ERP product would integrate with Bamboo specifically.
Yeah.
How open is Bamboo?
Let's define what is openness first.
Well, the ability to, talk to an ERP system.
Yeah, and that's $1 billion question again, right? So basically what we need to define is, okay, what informational elements would you like to exchange?
Sure.
What is going to be your process? What processes are getting hosted in your Bamboo versus your, Infor CSI? Now let's do a little walkthrough here, right, of both of these solutions. So for example, let's say it's a terrible idea to keep your employees inside your ERP solution. Okay, a lot of companies do it, but they also struggle a lot. So in general, if you are keeping employees, the representation of those employees is going to be very different. For the most part, they are there to enable costing, to enable scheduling from the production perspective. Okay, they don't necessarily have the overarching perspective. From the ACM perspective, your perspective is going to be different. So let's say if you have in total 100 employees, your ERP is probably going to keep only 40. So what happens to all of those 100? How are you going to keep the attendance, timesheet, HR compliance processes? And that's where the real pain is. So now, Andy, if we talk about the integration, again, what exactly is Bamboo doing in your company is the question that you should be asking. Okay, right. And what information do you need?
And what information do you want to bring across?
Technically speaking, why do you even need to integrate ACM unless the ACM input is going to be part of your production scheduling? You just don't have a real value in integrating an ACM or ERP solution, to be completely honest. Okay, the only integration that people talk about between your ACM and ERP is probably going to be sending a bunch of GL entries that you can
mostly correct. And I'm just curious if you had any thoughts or experience about the openness of the system, just so I could intelligently give the guy advice. I'd say exactly what you just said.
Yeah, and that's a great question because for our audience as well, I think that's going to be beneficial in understanding the difference. And since we are talking about Bamboo here, so obviously their integration is going to matter a lot. So so overarchingly speaking, I guess the only integration that matters from the Bamboo perspective is that GL entry. But for the most part, that's a very easy lift. You can always do that in the ad hoc fashion. That's probably going to take literally 5-10 minutes to be able to.
So generically, the answer is yes.
For a sales guy, yes. But again, if you want it to work, then you need to ask a lot more questions. So moving right along, great question, Andy. Thank you so much. Moving right along. So obviously the background of this particular solution is the ease of use, and the ease of use, especially if you look at companies that are going to be in tech, media space, tech startups, they have a lot more people. They care for the automated experience. You are not going to get the integrated experience, but you at least need to have the automated experience, even if you're going to be a very small startup. And that's where BambooHR really works, because, again, ACM solution can be siloed. It doesn't need to be integrated with your ERP solution unless you have a need to integrate. It's not as heavy as your CRM to your ERP integration, or your POS to your ERP integration, or e-commerce to your ERP integration. That's a very, very, very different lift than the integration that you're going to find here. So I think we have already covered a lot of different points here. So overall, from the industry perspective, you are going to find this in tech, healthcare. Again, this is installed a lot more in the white collar space. And Dave, one of the other points that we touched last time, or maybe during Ceridian, I think you were there, in the Ceridian show, that there is another component that is called WFM scheduling. And Andy, you may have missed that, I guess. So in for WFM, the way it started as more of the scheduling engine. Okay, the way scheduling works for industries such as your retail, banking, anything that is going to have a physical location, they have a very different scheduling need. This scheduling is not your production scheduling. This scheduling is not your field service scheduling. So this is going to be for your retail employees, because each branch is managing their own schedule. So that's why that has to reside inside your ACM component. So overall, if you look at even Ceridian's positioning initially, they were more of the WFM solution. They were not complete ACM suite. They grew all of those capabilities later on. Okay, initially they started as WFM. Infor has the WFM component because they do a lot of business in the physical location as well, especially if you look at their Infor M3 solution, which is very well positioned in very retail-centric spaces, chemical-centric spaces. So if you look at the overarching philosophy of design, the reason why Infor M3 target those industries is because that's where this whole retail scheduling is far more relevant. So this is sort of the scheduling perspective. Then you also have the product perspective. So each solution targets a very specific industry because they are really strong there. So in this particular case, for example, for retail, the MRP scheduling, that is not even relevant. And that's why with retail, you don't even have the MRP or production scheduling need in those cases. So that's where WFM plays a lot more role. So if you look at solutions such as your Workday, they are going to have a lot more exposure in these industries. Again, your retail, banking, wherever you're going to have those physical locations. So here with Bamboo, you are not going to have WFM component. So they are not going to be as great fit for your restaurant, hospitality, retail, even though they can do some things. And we are going to touch on some of these slides, where they really struggle. So if you are only utilizing them for very specific collaboration, document sharing capabilities, etc., then it's a different case. But for the pure play retail model, where your Ceridian is going to shine or UKG Pro are going to shine, that's where Bamboo is probably going to struggle, because that scheduling is going to play a very critical role for your compensation process. So that's a key distinction there with Bamboo. And that's why the industries that you're looking at tech, healthcare. Healthcare scheduling is slightly different. I don't know if they follow the same scheduling as they would do in bank and retail, but healthcare is a very interesting vertical here. They do a little bit of business in banking, financial services. Financial services could be all over the place as well. Some are going to have physical locations. Other are going to be more of the IT companies. So for those, financial. So for those financial services companies, Bamboo could be a great fit. Education, again, depending upon the business model, some may have physical locations, some might not have physical locations. Even if they have physical locations, they might not have workforce scheduling as part of that. So again, education is very different. The same goes for not-for-profit too. So again, if you need WFM, then this solution is probably not the right fit for you. But if you don't need that, then this could be a great fit. Okay, so now the second point that we have more from the context perspective is, again, when you have this whole collaborative workflows, and when I say collaborative, this is going to be when you have to post your jobs on 3,000 different job boards. Now that integration, takes a lot of money, effort, time to be able to do that. And if you are going to have even decent recruiting organization, generally that is going to be labor of love. they spend a lot of time in sourcing these candidates. So that's where you are going to find a lot more value when you talk about the whole documentation piece. You need to send at least 1 million documents when you onboard anybody. You need to make sure you are signing 1 million documents when you offboard anybody, because those are going to be your legal obligations. You are going to be doing the whole asset release, what is that, sign off process, I guess, once they off board. So you are going to have all of those complications. So for those, this is going to be a great fit. Any comments, guys? No? Okay. So I think I covered most of them. Just one last point. Andy, do you have a comment? No? Okay. One last comment. Onboarding, offboarding. Yeah, I guess, the part-time versus the full-time workers. So I think that is another distinction that we saw in a lot of different solutions. So sometimes these solutions might not be as great fit when you are going to manage either the resources from the third party, because they might not have the representation inside the system. So that could be another layer that you might need to think about when you are looking at these solutions, whether you have those, because some solutions are going to have support for those, some may not have. Okay, so so these are some of their screenshots from different product offerings that they have. So they are segmenting between your core, and they have slightly bigger offering. I don't know what is the name of that, but that's going to be probably recommended, right? Because obviously they're making a lot more money. So here, the real difference between core and this particular solution is going to be that you are going to get basic HR data and reporting. That's probably the most basic need that most companies have. The hiring and onboarding in general is easy. Time off and benefits tracking is easy, that you are going to see across the solutions. Again, because implementing that is very easy. You can sell that across the board, regardless of the geography. I don't think you are going to get into any sort of legal compliance issues. That's why this functionality is far easier. Integration marketplace, every solution is going to have. Bamboo has fairly good marketplace. You are going to find a lot of solution, but again, you will have to worry about the integration on your own. The way these marketplaces are designed, they are just add-on top of that. So you are going to see a lot of communication issues in general between these solutions. Then we have performance management, employee experience, employee community. Again, these features are far easier to implement from the technical solution perspective. Okay, once you get into that legal compliance issues, that's where things are going to be a little tricky. So this is a great value add for startups who are managing their processes on paper. But again, these are very basic capabilities. The things that are really different in the mid-market and enterprise solution is going to be that finance compliance layer. That's where you are going to get a lot more value when you are doing very complex comp calculations. So even if you're going to be a startup and you have those processes, that's where you will struggle with BambooHR. They are going to have some benefits, but the benefits are fairly basic as well. If you look at their screens, they are not going to have as many layers, from the benefits perspective. I don't know if I want to hit on any other points here. So the complex processes. So here I have some notes here with respect to your comp admin benefits, wage garnishments and demand pay. Again, these are the features that we saw with slightly more mid-market enterprise solutions. So most likely you are not going to see those in these basic solutions. So that's a real differentiator. Okay. So here, these are far more details on their core and the pro offering. So pro was the name of the other, bucket that they have. So let's touch on some of these, custom tabs and fields. They are saying they both are in core and pro, but for the most part, the limitations that you are going to see with these solutions is the data model is far more relational when you look at the mid-market, enterprise components. Here, yes, they are going to have custom fields, but they are going to be extremely flat. Meaning, let's say if I have for example, the company customer contact object, I can create 10,000 custom fields, but there is no sort of order hierarchy in those. So structuring the information is going to be far more difficult, even though they all are going to have custom fields and custom tab. And some of the limitations that we see with these smaller solutions is they are going to say they have custom tabs, but each tabs may not have the same capabilities that you are going to see on the left side versus middle versus right. So there are a lot of layers there with these capabilities that you should be looking at. Time of calendar, time of management in general, that is probably going to be decent capabilities. I don't know if you are going to run into any sort of challenges, because that's a fairly basic capability. At least I have not seen much of a difference between your enterprise solutions versus your smaller solutions. Training tracking is probably going to be slightly superior with these, because implementing training in any solution is far easier than doing something related to your finance operations compliance in general. That's why the newer solutions are going to have a lot more component of LMS, video. Let me give you these fancy bells and whistles. So you are going, just because implementing those is far easier. So that sometimes even the mid-market and enterprise solutions, they might not even have those capabilities. They might say that, we are not good at that, so go for an LMS provider, and they probably are better for you. Just because I'm not in a business in creating these videos and video-centric apps, that's not my core expertise. My core expertise is to provide you very relational data model that is going to serve you for your mid-market enterprise. Here, the mindset is very different. So then they have the ATS. In general, the ATS is slightly easier to build, just because you don't have those financial, complications there. So that process is much easier to build in getting the document, moving the document from one process to the next. All of that hiring process in general is easier. So you might find richer capabilities with these smaller solutions than your mid-market to your enterprise solution. And Bamboo obviously is going to have, a lot more of that. Now, here is the trick. Okay, so in terms of the contract, when you are going to see, for example, job openings, so the way these offerings are layered, they are very crafty in the way they price. Okay, and these solutions, they could get very expensive as well. We have seen companies paying hundreds and thousands of dollars. With these smaller offerings, they don't get the real communication between the systems. They are still struggling. They are still doing the duplicate data entry. But if you look at the software licensing, they are paying millions and millions of dollars with these smaller solutions. The reason for that is because it's much easier to get in. But once you get in, once you hit into those limitations, it's nickel and dime. So one of the nickel and dime that you're going to get here is in terms of job openings. Okay, so they have 5 included as part of your core and 25 as part of your pro. Now, for the most part, 5 is probably going to be enough for most startups, because it's very rare that any company is going to hire 5 positions in one go. At least for startups, I don't think you are going to hit that. Unless you are a staffing company, then it's a different story. Obviously, this is not designed for staffing companies. The staffing companies are going to have very different ACM, very different ATS. Okay, so that's a key distinction there. So here, you are looking at a startup that may have 20, 25 employees. For those, I think 5 is more than enough. In the pro plan, you are going to get 25. So again, when you are going to be a startup, you are probably going to be okay, but that's where your pricing is going to be substantially steep. When you are going to be slightly more mid-market, and let's say if you have a lot of job openings, they might charge substantially higher. They are claiming that they have ACA reporting. I would think that the ACA reporting piece is going to be fairly limited. I don't know if they are going to have the real managed services that you are going to get with Ceridian or UKG Pro. With them, you will find a lot more value in general. Bamboo has very robust partner channel as well. So for the most part, they might rely for the compliance piece, etc., to their partner channel in general, the way their business model is structured. But there is a possibility that they might have very similar offering from the managed services perspective with Bamboo as well. So you might want to do some diligence there in asking that. Audit trail is interesting. I don't know what details you are going to get, but I mean, it seems like they are able to check the box there. Custom reporting, I doubt it. I really do doubt. Okay, so the best way to ensure that you are going to get the reporting that you're looking for is literally write down every single report that you look for, write down every data element, define business rules, how you are going to get data in those reports, and vet whether the systems have capabilities or not. Now that's a lot of work, okay, and that's the work that you need to do if you don't like surprises. um, but here you are going to get a lot of surprises because reporting is going to be substantially limited in general. If you ask a salesperson, they're going to say 220, 25, 200 reports, whatever. It doesn't mean anything. Okay, the workflow and approvals is another layer that we have not touched so far, that you are going to find it substantially limited. In general, with slightly larger solutions, what you get is each of the fields and forms, they can be tailored to a persona. Okay, you have data security. So in terms of whatever data elements that you want to show to a specific team, you will run into a lot of challenges. So here, this is going to be a slightly more binary, approach with respect to workflow and security, because the smaller systems are not necessarily designed for that, even if their marketing material may say so. Okay. Then we have some more comments related to onboarding, performance management, as well as employee experience. So for onboarding, your experience is going to be really good. And the reason for that is, again, it's designed for that. It's designed for that mobile experience. You are going to get quick, electronic signatures. You are going to get document collaboration, and teams are absolutely going to love it. It's really designed for that experience. New hire packet. Again, automating this even in the larger system might be slightly difficult. So you are going to get that here. Offboarding tasks, again, these are very easy to implement. That's why smaller systems have that. Welcome emails, easy. Okay, most of the newer systems are going to have far more capabilities. I call this as more of the marketing automation bucket. Here, what you are doing is you are doing slightly more HR automation, employee experience, whatever bucket you want to put this in. But the workflows are very similar, where you have email-centric stages, and those stages are doing a lot of collaboration across the channels. So that's the real intent here, and it is going to be really good. You might struggle even with the larger system with this particular workflow. They have acquired a lot of capabilities, but the experience might not be as immersive as you are going to find with Bamboo. Okay, Andy, Dave, any comments? No? Okay, I'll keep moving here. Performance management is going to be, in my mind, it's probably going to be okay. It's not going to be as bad. I think most startups, the smaller companies, might be okay with that. Automated reminders. Again, these things are easier for the smaller solutions to be able to implement. That's why you are going to find a lot richer capabilities with these smaller solutions. Double blind assessments. Now that's where the layers are. Okay, when you get into these edits, corner cases, that's where these guys are going to be really short, because their data model is not designed to support all of these edits and corner cases. And most people don't even review those during the sales process. They are only worried about the happy path. But this is where the real play is in solution psychology. So then we have the employee experience as well as rewards. Now everybody has to have AI. So even these guys have AI, keyword there. So they are saying AI powered topic summaries. That's very easy to implement. So that's why they have that. That's super easy. No big deal. And that's just a, fancy feature. Employee experience surveys. And again, these capabilities are going to be far richer with solution like this. Employee well-being survey, equity projections. I will doubt if they have real capabilities there, for the equity projections. And by the way, there might be a layer here, because there are two types of equity that might be part of your ACM system. One is going to be more from the EEO perspective. That is going to be your, what is that, Dave? Equitable employer organization, I guess, EEO.
Yeah, equal employment.
Equal employment or employer organization, right?
Yeah.
So you have that layer, but then you also have the equity compensation layer. So with ADP, we saw that they have far stronger capabilities for the equity compensation. In this case, the only thing they are doing is EEO, which is much easier to implement. There is a distinction there. So make sure you guys pay attention. When you get into the real equity compensation, oh my goodness, that is a very difficult process to implement because you are dealing with very complex financials. Then you have fancy features like heat map analysis, keyword analysis. Again, recruiting, not a big deal, but they have those. I don't have anything else unless you guys have something. Okay. Some more features here: employee community, integration, marketplace, customer support, these three buckets. So employee community, again, this is going to be a fancy whistle that your newer or the modern solutions are trying to promote, because community is much easier to build for these companies and they can really differentiate using that. Now, does community matter for HR experience? I would say yes. You need that. Okay, because that's where you are going to get the real water cooler conversation. It's very rare that people are going to write in the emails. So this is where your community, you can do events if you are doing external internal collaboration with events, but I don't know how sophisticated their community feature is going to be. And this is where you can do integration with your Slack. So again, employee communities matter, but Salesforce is trying to promote communities from the CRM perspective. These guys are trying to promote more from the employee perspective. In general, you don't need to integrate these two communities because they are distinctly different. So in this particular case, this is a value for me personally. Community feed widget, company events, customizable groups, employee post, event calendar, etc. All of these features are going to be bucketed under those. In general, the customer support is going to be really good. They have their internal organization for support. They have their partner channel as well. But the way these solutions are positioned in the market, their support is going to be really, really good. And this is where, Andy, your point related to open API, everybody's going to claim that. But unless you look at, okay, what objects are exposed, what fields are exposed, what is the hierarchy of those fields, and how that is going to be mapped to your destination solution, it's very hard to comment, how the integration is going to work and if the integration is even a right fit. Okay. Dave, you have a comment?
I was just, I guess, going to tack onto that. I mean, I think it's a really smart comment because, everybody has API integration.
Yeah.
But
everybody has to have it.
Yeah. I mean, the real miss there is exactly what you said. And again, nobody really thinks to ask those types of questions. It's back to what we've, said several times in terms of checking the box. So just because it has the API access and integration doesn't mean what you, from a process flow standpoint, need to be able to have visibility over, or, the ability to edit is going to be open within that API structure. Now, can you make a request for it? Sure. All the things, right? But it just becomes one more thing to add to the list. So.
Yeah, I mean, you can make a request, Dave, but you can't shake anybody's foundation. Yeah. And that foundation in the software world is going to be the data model. That's where the real play is. Changing data model, and in some cases, changing data model might be okay as well. And the reason why it is okay is because it's a very disconnected, disjointed data model. It does not have as many business rules. So you can do whatever, and that's how 90% of these SaaS companies are designed. Okay, they are bypassing all of those traffic rules. So there are two possibilities to design a city. Okay, either you can have traffic rules or you don't want to have traffic rules. But both of those are going to have some interesting outcomes, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's a mindset that 90% of the SaaS companies are following. Again, there are some benefits, but there are also disadvantages there. Great comment, Dave. Unless you have any other follow-ups, I'll keep moving here. Okay. So this is probably a case study. This is coming from American, Cedar in Millwork. So again, it's a very interesting industry. I don't think we have seen this industry with anybody else. For the most part, their usage is going to be fairly minimal in my mind. So we'll evaluate that if that is what is happening here. So since this would be more of the manufacturing company, and Andy, this is probably your space. You do a lot of business in this space. So here they are cabinet and woodworking supplier. They are going to have to help delivery drivers. Now they have delivery drivers. So this is a very interesting industry. In this case, they are going to have this. Okay, warehouse workers. and office employees keep accurate hourly records. In general, your delivery drivers are not going to be part of your ERP. Okay, some ERPs may have that because they are trying to sell the whole suite because they have a lot more TMS capabilities. But in general, that's not the boundary of ERP system. Okay, so you're not going to have that. Now you are looking at that from the ACM perspective. You have warehouse workers. Sometimes warehouse workers may reside inside ERP, but in a lot of cases they are probably going to reside inside your WMS solution, so you don't even have a state of those. So that's where your scheduling becomes very different, right? Warehouse scheduling is very different, production is very different, retail scheduling is very different, field service is very, very different. Now how they are going to talk to each other, I'll let you figure that out. So here they have the office employees as well. Their scheduling is going to be very different. Keep accurate hourly records. And in this particular case, they are branding this as construction, retail, building materials. And I apologize, guys. I have a lot of background noise here. They wanted to, cut grass right now. Okay, but I mean, we'll keep going probably. So one thing that you are going to notice here, locations are all going to be US based. So in general, this solution is not going to be global. So that's another differentiator that they have. So if you are going to be a US based business, then this is probably a great fit. Otherwise, it might not be as great fit. If you notice employee size, this is probably the right fit, 26 to 100. This is probably their space. Now, if you look at their usage, they're using it for time tracking. Time tracking, you can probably use this globally, and you are probably going to be okay, to be completely honest, because you are not getting into that whole compliance piece. Reporting, analytics, and mobile app, again, the usage is very minimal. For these use cases, there's no problem at all. You can use wherever you want. But one thing that you might want to notice here is going to be the WFM capabilities for industrial as well as for manufacturing industries that you are not going to find in this. So even though you are sort of going to conclude that, okay, this logo is using Bamboo, but are they using WFM feature? They are not going to have that. They don't have that. So is it a right fit? I would not think so. Because again, this is a manufacturing industry, slightly different. So this is where Ceridian is probably a better fit, but that's slightly larger solution. And I don't know if you're going to find a smaller solution that is going to be as great, for these smaller, verticals. So again, depending upon the use case, depending upon how you are using it. Some comments. Most of our time managing payroll, she can support managers in 3 different states and recruiting and employee satisfaction efforts. So obviously there's going to be a lot of time saving overall from the recruiting and employee satisfaction. That's where the real play is of BambooHR. Managers keep track of overtime with shifting schedules. Now the challenge that you are going to get here is, okay, whose shifting schedules are you talking about? Is it warehouse? Is it delivery drivers? Is it your production workers? Is it your office workers? So I think that question you need to answer. If you are looking at consolidated scheduling for everybody, then you would have a very different architecture, the kind of solutions that you are going to work for you. Here you are looking at 20 to 30% reduction in overtime. I think what they are talking about is the people who were reporting these hours, because from delivery perspective, the way they are paid, these delivery drivers are paid based on their time, and they are going to have a real payroll process that you need to go through. You need to collect hours, you need to pay them, and that's a very heavy process in general. And that's why if you look at transportation industries, the process becomes very complex. They would probably have 100 people just doing that. Can you believe this? So that's where they are getting the real benefit in that time tracking, and these drivers must be inputting the records. But my TMS friends are going to argue that you input time in TMS solution. So I'll let you guys fight that battle. I'm not qualified to solve that, but here they are able to do something. So unnecessary overtime hours as clock in clock out times becomes more accurate. Don't even have a company email address. Now this is critical. Okay, some solutions are going to have email address as the login. Okay, you can't even use a system unless you have an email address. They are designed for that perspective. Okay, go to HubSpot. The whole system is designed with the assumption that everybody's going to have an email, everybody's going to have a website. They don't work with companies that is not going to have that. So that's the kind of problem that you are trying to solve, because in a lot of solutions, email address is what represents your company in contact. They are not even going to have ID underneath. It's that bad. So in this particular case, it is designed for those spaces, so at least you have that benefit. Okay, if you guys don't have comments, I'll keep moving here. So here, one more company, and what is this? In Sarada? In Sarada? That's very interesting. They are doing communication and data security tools for their clients. So we are looking at communication software, tech, and they are in Australia. Can you believe this? Okay, they are very global. So now let's look at the usage, how they are using, because our assumption would be that this is probably not the right solution for global use cases. Okay, and you are probably going to hear this in the commentary as well. So here we are looking at 180 to 200 employees. Again, their space was up to 50. So they are crossing their line a little bit, technically speaking, but that's okay. Again, depending upon the use case. So here they are looking at, people, data and analytics. They are looking at onboarding, paid time off, implementation. You are going to be okay. If you're using it only for this purpose, you are going to be okay across the geography. But when you get into those legal compliance, compensation, payroll scenarios, that's where you are going to run into a lot of challenges. Some comments here. The new hire packet is number one for me because of the experience that it gives people when they join. It eliminates the need for physical paperwork, and it gives visibility to both them and team members when they join. And I completely agree. For tech companies, this is a massive gift. Okay, tech companies need this. If you don't have this, they are not going to work for you. As simple as that. That's how competitive space is for tech. They appreciate these things. So again, that's why it is number one for them, but it might not be number one for other companies, where talent is not as much a problem in general, and their competitors might not be providing the same experience. Simplicity of building my own custom reports, I would doubt how deep you can get into this. So yes, you can build the reports, but you are going to hear complaints from people with larger systems when you are going to expose the real SQL instance for your reporting. People freak out. So here it is designed for very simple scenarios, and that's why your implementation dollars are going to be far lower in general. So they are saying it's been very, very helpful. It's way better than not having a system in place at all. Exactly. So if you don't have a system, you are replacing that. This is a great candidate, but don't overuse it. We needed the platform to handle a global workforce. Again, that's not the right use case for these guys. Okay, they are not designed for this. Even though you are able to use it for that purpose, it is not designed for that purpose. To provide a similar employee experience for one person located in South Africa. And again, here the only thing you are looking at is your onboarding paid time off. So for that purpose, it's okay. But again, it's not designed for that global experience if you are looking for one system across locations. Leave management was a big challenge. Leave management, you will be able to accommodate that globally. That's not going to be a problem. Yeah, and there are in leave process as well, there could be complications. Accruals, have their own leave approved, and again, they get very complicated depending upon how complicated your processes are. So you might want to review that as well. If you guys don't have comments, I'll keep moving. Okay, one more case study here. This is again very interesting name. What is that? Architrave. So this is software for real estate. That would be my interpretation as well, based on the name. So they are doing digital asset management software for real estate. They use BambooHR to streamline their hiring process. So again, if you look at the trend, tech is where their real play is. That's where BambooHR is really known, and that's why even though they are software for real estate, they are still going to be a great fit. Guys, if you notice now, they are using it in Germany, which might be slightly off use case for them because again, they are more of the US-based solution. So here you have 26 to 100 employees definitely in place. Now they are looking at employee database, reporting and analytics, ATS, new hire onboarding, performance reviews, timesheet. Great fit, guys. Good job. Okay, because again, you are not using it for compliance purposes. That's why you are able to use it globally. But again, it's not designed for that. Some more comments here. In 2 to 3 years, 2 years and 3 months, BambooHR saved Architrave more than 22,000 USD in cost associated with countless hours mentioning external job boards. Again, that's where you are going to get real value. 20, I think that is underquoted, to be completely honest. You'll be spending a lot more. Keeping job posts up to date and tracking conversion across different channels. Again, conversion tracking, gold, pure gold. I'm telling you, this is going to be a so great fit. High amount of transparency shows that we involve people in a collaborative hiring process. Big deal, guys. That's a real experience there. You click hired, and the stars came up. It's such a feeling of accomplishment. Again, if you care for that employee experience, this is definitely a great fit. In the past, I've used SAP products and they were over-engineered too complex with BambooHR. Again, they are designed for very different purpose. You are not the right fit for that. That's why you are feeling that way. Okay, once you grow to that level, then you will feel the need for those products as well. Okay, any comments, guys? Okay, now this is another one, Cabinet Peaks Medical Center. Okay, this is a healthcare company. We have seen logos in the healthcare space with, I believe, Ceridian is doing some business. I believe, UKG Pro is doing some business. Oracle definitely is doing some business in healthcare. So is a 25-bed critical access hospital with services and technology that go far beyond what you would expect from a facility and its size. So this is healthcare. They are in the US. So great fit. Okay, 300 to 500 employees. In my mind, a little stretch. Okay, that's not their space, but they're using it. What are they using it for? Benefits admin, employee database. Again, that's going to be a stretch. You might be able to manage it just because you might have simplified compensation processes, but they are not necessarily known for that. So let's see what they are, their comments. So prior to BambooHR filling out 1095 forms took 2 weeks with 2 people working on it. Right, so 1095 forms, any forms, documentation, great fit. You are going to find a lot of value from this solution. BambooHR benefits administration, the process takes half the time it would take. Yes, you are right. BambooHR simplified I-9s to generating everyone's form with all the demographic information pre-populated. I completely agree. This is a great use case. Benefits administration does not just happen during open enrollment. So when someone has a life status change, they already know the process. I just create a new window and they go in, make their changes. Again, for that whole employee experience across devices, getting this updated from employees timely, that's a big deal, guys. And that's where you're going to get real benefits. It's done in less than 5 minutes. Now let's look at Cabinet Peaks gets audited on a yearly basis. Can you believe this? So they are being audited and you have to publish the payroll data to a lot of agencies, including cities. So obviously you are going to get audited. In HCM space, you have a lot more audits than your ERP space. So here they are saying who have been with the company for over 30 years, just finding information on a day-to-day basis was difficult. So gathering information for those in-depth audits was nearly impossible. So they are getting at least some value from this, but again, from audits perspective, this may not be the best fit, but at least these guys are able to get that. Again, their spaces, they were on a spreadsheet, moved to BambooHR, great fit, guys. Great use case. That's the right space for them. 7 minutes. What do you want to do, guys? Comments or one more slide?
One more slide.
Okay. Dave, you okay with that as well, or you have a lot more? Okay.
Yep. No, we're good.
Okay, so here, one more company, 2005, E&D has evolved into a technology-led retailer. So this is a retail company, and retail, we know that for retail, you need WFM capabilities. Okay, we have seen this for UKG Pro. We have seen this for your, Ceridian as well. That provides luxury and, contemporary apparel, homeware, and exclusive sneaker drop to a global audience. Again, very different business, guys. So they are using this in the UK. So I don't think this is going to be a great fit. Number of employees, can you believe this, guys? 1,000 plus. That's a stretch. Okay. Reporting and analytics, employee records, electronic signatures, performance management. Now you know why they are able to use it, right? Because they are using it for fairly basic capabilities. Guys, employee records, electronic signatures, performance management, no big deal. You can use it even for enterprises. Okay. So again, if just because they have the logo, it doesn't mean that they are the right fit for this particular space.
And it depends on that. Even though this company is over 1,000 employees, it depends on their specific expectations and needs.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
Those 4 items might be all they care about.
Exactly. And in those cases, this is a great fit. But then obviously you are going to outgrow.
It's all relative.
Yeah, exactly. So here, They have some more comments here. Employee information such as your emergency contacts. This meant employee didn't have to call on the people team for every request, saving everyone's time. So this whole emergency process, especially when you have 1,000+ employees, then the management of that, maintenance of that could be tricky, and there are legal obligations from the safety perspective. So you have to have this. So this is a great benefit, guys. One department, what is this? END was planning to roll out BambooHR over the span of several months, one department at a time. But as COVID-19 hit, END's plans swiftly changed when the UK shut down in March 2020. END needed a way to communicate with employees company-wide, so BambooHR went live for all departments overnight. Guys, great idea for BambooHR. Please don't do this for SAP, Oracle. That's not a smart idea. Okay, for BambooHR, because the data model is very, 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 very disconnected, disjointed. You can literally do whatever you want. Okay, you cannot do those things with the other larger systems. So again, what is possible with BambooHR? Please don't try to do that with larger systems.
So back to my original question about integration and APIs and how well it could integrate to an ERP like Infor. Piece of cake.
Exactly. That should be the answer. Now let's start implementing, and then we'll find out.
Yeah. How long is that piece of string? Yeah.
Okay, so I don't have anything else. Guys, are we ready for
yeah, I mean, it's always great to learn about some of these products, whether they're targeted at tier 1 or tier 3 or whatever the case. And in this case, it appears that it's more of a tier 3 play, or possibly even a tier 4 play, even though they do have some logos and they do have some very large companies. That's just marketing. But as far as an entry level type system, this one looks like it's going to cover most of the requirements for a smaller type company.
Dave?
Yeah, I agree with you, Andy. I mean, like all of the things that we talk about in review, it always comes down to use case and very specific and asking the right questions. I think
sure.
Sam mentioned it and I commented on it earlier in terms of, what does it mean for me, and asking that next layer down in terms of functionality. A lot of the use cases that we reviewed today, it was interesting to see what I would say, the impression of a solution like this is in terms of that entry level kind of, end to end, process flow. And it's interesting to see some of these larger companies, what they're utilizing it for. So again, might be a perfect fit in that scenario.
Yeah.
The one thing that was interesting, or that I didn't see, I looked into it, pricing, you've got to get a price quote. So I'm sure it's per user. What's interesting is like when you get into that, 500 or 1,000 plus use case, is there a real value? Obviously it depends on what the cost is, but it's interesting, like the kind of ROI on something like that for the functionality.
But don't forget, you know as well as I do that there is no one set way to price software.
Yeah.
We're assuming per user. I mean, there's lots of other ways to price software nowadays, and you never know, right?
Yeah.
Maybe there's a fixed price, and that's the reason why the 1,000 employee company loves it, because it's so cheap.
Yeah. And
tough to say when it's hidden, Andy, to your point.
Yeah.
Dave, I'll have just one comment. If you are doing ROI analysis for these software, that means you are probably going to be wasting a lot more money in doing that analysis. Because here, what you are looking at, literally like $1 per seat per month is the pricing. That's what Zoho sells for. They are going to sell probably for $5, $10 maybe per month. That's how cheap it is. Okay.
Yeah.
And the implementation, you are looking at $3,000, $5,000.
Yeah. As soon as you put the effort into doing ROI,
you'll sign no ROI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do an ROI on your ROI first.
Well, the real point is, right, not understanding what the process flow is and what are we really trying to accomplish, because there's probably a bunch of different ways to accomplish what has been set out to accomplish. in maybe a more cost effective or certainly a more efficient manner.
Yeah.
So
Could not agree more.
interesting solution though. Glad that we got an opportunity to walk through it and review it, because I think this is really popular, in that kind of startup space, or in the SMB space, not necessarily startup in terms of longevity, but certainly in terms of company size and maturity.
Yeah. Perfect, guys. So if you guys don't have any other comments, we are going to close. So that's a wrap, guys. If you joined for the first time, this was part of our industry series for which we meet every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you guys are going to be here next week. We are going to come back with another vendor or the solution. On that note, thanks everyone for tuning in today.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much, Sam. Thanks. Nice to see you, Dave.